Hello, and welcome to another session of Super Reads and Spark. We're live, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. As this is a global event, we're not sure if we're looking at this moment, morning, evening, or afternoon. But anyway, um, today we'll have a great speaker with us. But before that, let me share about Synapse QA. So as probably you know, our motto is to learn, share, and grow together. We're a community-driven platform that connects foster people or foster talents' minds to create an empire that expands beyond its pages and transform contents more powerful. Basically, what is this? This is something that we want to share with you guys, this testing community, with all. There you go. We go to next. Okay, about us, it is a free platform. We want to connect people. We are here since March 2020. We have a global community. We have different partners. We are sharing a different topics about testing. We want to redefine. We want to share with you. And also we want new ideas, unique ideas to share with all. We hosted 2 global events, 1 meetup. We have parallel learning series. We have the Tolerant of Tales blogcasts. We have study notes as well. We can go next on this. Okay, and this is Super Reads and Sparks. So Super Reads is a global write-a-thon. So what is this? Basically, it's more than a contest. Basically, it's an opportunity for you to share your ideas. We want to hear from you as well. No matter if you are a new writer or experienced one, please don't miss the opportunity to share with us. And also this year, 2021, we have a new thing. It's a webinar anthology, and we're talking about these Sparks. So we have different speakers, different talks that we want to share. It's testing, DevOps, machine learning, different areas. So this is a great opportunity. And also remember the dates. The end of this month, this is the last day to submit your articles. Please do that. We have time. You don't want to miss this great experience to share with us. And on December 12th, we're going to share who is going to be the final 12, so you can have your article there. And on January 1st, we are going to have our ceremony, our celebration with you. Remember, all participants are winners. So please don't miss the opportunity to participate. There you go. I'm really thankful, really honored to present Lavina Ramchandani and the talk about how to bring accessibility into your teams. This is a great honor, to be honest, to be with you, Lavina. The stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my talk on how to bring accessibility into your teams. Before we start the session, I'd like to give some background information to you about myself. I've been testing in the industry for over 8 years now. I've studied computer science. I'm a blogger, an active speaker, host as well now, and I'm a trainer at the Coders Guild. And I'm currently working at Deloitte. Today's table of contents. So I've divided my session today in 3 different parts. First part being some background information of how I got into accessibility and why accessibility is important and the benefits. Part 2 will be around how did I bring accessibility to the team? What did I do? How to coach your teams? And part 3 would be around when to do accessibility and some tips for you to take away. Before we start the session, I really like this quote by Tim Berners-Lee. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So off we start from part 1, which is some background information. So did you know there are these numbers of disabled people around the world who are working? So I could find information around 4 continents. There was Australia, as you can see, 400,000 who are disabled and working. India, 0.1 million. We've got the UK, 4.1 million. And we've got Canada, over 18 million. So it's just around things we need to think. So if we did not know about this, then sometimes it makes it difficult for us to think further about this. So if we have these kind of details in hand, then it makes us think more around accessibility, and it makes an impact as well. So these numbers actually really shocked me, and it made me think, are we making it accessible for them? For individuals without a disability, technology makes things easier. For individuals with a disability, technology makes things possible. Now, I was speaking to AD the other day, and we were just talking around accessibility, and he said our glasses, so currently I'm wearing contact lenses to be able to record this and look nice, but usually I wear glasses as well. These are my assisted technology. So they help me see things that are far out. I can't see things, I can see things which are closer, but I can't see far out. So if I were to do some online shopping, I'd have to have my phone screen up close to my eyes, or I'd have to have the laptop screen so close, but glasses definitely help. Basically, in a nutshell, things become easier and things become really possible, not just for those who don't have a disability, but with those who have a disability as well. So how did I come across accessibility as a tester? So I was working for a very well-known bank where we were trying to create an open banking system, and we were releasing quite often, and the product was going live, so any of us could be using it. Now, my lead came that day really shocked and started asking to me, have we done accessibility? Have we done accessibility? And I was thinking to myself, what even is accessibility? And I'm talking around 4 or 5 years ago. So I was a bit confused and puzzled as to what have I done wrong? And she then explained that we need to cater the website for everyone, whether it's someone who can't see 100% visually, or who can't access a keyboard, or has some sort of disability but can work. And I started doing some research, and that's how accessibility got stuck into my head, that kind of situation. So why did I think of this topic? So I thought of this topic because I feel like it's important to introduce these kind of testing into your teams. Accessibility is something that a lot of us get put off from the team because of budget issues or any kind of other priorities that take place. But we need to change this norm. And I thought it would be nice to introduce to all of you how I introduced accessibility to my team, just for you to kind of understand that it is not very difficult, but it's how willing we are to do it this way as well. And it's really important. That's the main aspect of this talk. It's important to do this. And for those who are still new in testing or just learning around testing, are you aware of accessibility? Have you heard around this before? So this is something for you to actually take away with you. Some useful resources and advocates that I follow and have actually, who I look up to as well, include some of the following names. So we've got Viv Richards, not the cricketer. We've got Adi Stokes. We've got Lisandra Armas Aguila, and we've got Suman Bala as well. So if you're interested into accessibility, feel free to connect with us, talk to us, or even add us on Twitter or LinkedIn and look at our blogs or any kind of materials that we have already out there. So why is accessibility important? So first of all, accessibility is more around building a community. It's a relationship you build with the community to make sure that everyone can access a product or an application. It is smart. Business-wise, if you take up on accessibility, it's a smart move. And we'll learn why it's smart. Innovation. It drives innovation because some firms that are not thinking around accessibility versus those that are thinking around accessibility, people will be more keen to try the application that is accessible and easier to use. Branding. It helps enhance your brand because you've picked up all the kind of possible things to reach out to all the community out there and make sure everyone is involved. It helps you extend your market research. You're not just researching on people who do not have disabilities and are working. It actually makes you think about them and see how I can enhance my product so that not just I can use it, but everyone else can use it as well. And legalities. It minimizes legal risk. Sometimes I tend to say, manage your legalities now before your legalities catch you later on. So in a way, it's a very smart kind of step for you to take. Some of the benefits of accessibility includes reaching a wider audience. Why wouldn't we reach a wider audience? It's important to. It increases usability. Obviously, more people will be using our application. It satisfies current and future legal requirements and ethics. So all those kind of dependencies are cut off and no one's chasing you. And improves maintainability and efficiency. I wanted to show you this video and then give you a talk about this first. So what did we learn from this video? I was working on the house and doing a bit of construction, and I entered the door with the door handle so I could enter. However, how do I get out? So I'm basically trapped inside a room thanks to the glove, and I had longer nails inside those gloves that I could open the door and get out. But this analogy reminds me of traps we have on our websites and applications these days. You can be trapped sometimes with a keyboard, just a keyboard trap. What do we do then? We are quite frustrated and we are more keen to using another application that's easier for these kind of situations. It's more accessible and it's catered all of the things that we need when we are actually trying to use an application. So I thought this was a really, really interesting analogy, and I thought it would be worth showing you. Also, many websites tend to say that they are accessible, but they're not really. For example, the alt text, for instance, they say that they're accessible, but they're not. So we need to bear in mind and try and stay as accessible as possible. Part 2. How did I bring accessibility to the team? So my steps were to bring some awareness. So I started chatting about accessibility in coffee rooms, just chatting to developers, delivery leads, and see what their thoughts are initially. Then I thought, let me put all the information that I have in my head and do some research and put it all into an informative slide. And make sure that I add all the important points that I want to kind of make. Communication. So this is something that is super, super important. Sometimes what we have in our head is not what we actually say when we are talking. So it's important that we try and convey the important message here. So I had to work on myself for what I want to convey. So make sure to convey the message right. And one thing that I learned actually from the Coders Guild communication session with Scott a few weeks ago was the greatest problem with communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. So how do we know we have kind of delivered the right message or not? So we have to try and give the information so that we can leave this information to digest with all the individuals who are present there. So have all your important points ready and don't try to derail into other things or other tangents. Speak to individuals and teams. So I approach the head of technology first to see what he thinks. And I showed him my slides and he was quite keen around this. Then I showed my slides to the UX team, and then I finally presented it to my entire team. It helped me also do further research as to if this is my application and I'm doing a little bit of research on it. I'm doing a bit of exploratory testing with the main aim being accessibility. What kind of options could I suggest as well? So could I, if I'm seeing that I can only scroll horizontally, is that accessible enough? Or should we have a vertical option? So these things start becoming clear. The color combinations, for example, as well, those are important. Are we using the right contrasts? So there's a really good website called Components AI, which are really good with themes. So you can actually research on there. It's called components.ai. And then what I did was I created a report. I started with a draft report of what I want to test and what areas I've captured in my report. And I created this report with some suggestions at the bottom. So I added all the tools that I'm using, the screens that I've tested, some suggestions as well to take away so that if I'm giving this to the UX kind of designer, then they have everything handy with them. Also, the aim is to shift left with accessibility. So spot any accessibility issues on designs, assess the screens. So if there's too much information or not on some screens, for example, and then bring it down to a user story level. So that's when you know you've achieved delivering that information and the communication section has gone really well. So yeah. Team coaching. So what do? I deliver information. I become a subject matter expert or advocate for accessibility. But delivering information, we also have to make sure that we are delivering the right information and it's being digested the way we want it to be. Another question that I always have, how do I convince? Because sometimes I can just keep talking and talking and talking, but how do I know I've actually convinced individuals? So by explaining accessibility and making sure I deliver the vital details, making sure that they know that if we are not doing accessibility, what can be a potential problem in the future? For example, the legalities could be a problem. So why not capture this earlier? How to back my point? So this is where the convincing bit comes in as well. So I can take some outputs of my research or report and show them to the team. And this is another way to convince the team as well. So this is what I've done, and this is what I suggest. What do you think? And how do I know they understand? So of course, I said we have to work on our communication skills and make sure we deliver the right information and that it can be digested. So things that we need to think is what information they understand or find as blockers so that it can build a healthy discussion and we can solve these blockers as well. Part 3, when or how to do accessibility testing. So this is something that I had a conversation, I think a few months ago with a manager, and the manager got back to me based on our product saying that we are B2B, we are not B2C. So we do not need to spend a lot of time doing accessibility on a B2B product. That actually puzzled me. I had loads of question marks in my head. And when I was speaking to Viv as well, he said that he did an accessibility report for a friend for his and it was around some driving insurance. And he provided that report to the friend. And then or that person who he kind of handed the report to, they turned around and said that we are not going to potentially look into this accessibility issues because someone who's blind might not use this. Now, this is really touchy for me. I felt a bit upset listening to this. Why are we discriminating? Why are we creating groups of people? We should always aim to reach out to as many people as possible without saying, without thinking that someone might have some optical issue, someone might have some issue in their hand. They might not be able to use a mouse track or a keyboard. They might just be dependent on screen readers, but they can deliver their work as well at the same time. So why do we think like that? This is a thing for you to take home and think, why is it like that? Why can't we change this kind of thought process? Why can't we upgrade and reach everyone? Also, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the next slide. So when do we start accessibility testing? I think the best time to start is as soon as possible. Design and planning sessions are the best actually, because when a feature comes in, you can actually pinpoint the discussion and say, have we thought about accessibility? If it's a front-end kind of feature, are we bearing in mind the color contrast we are using, the type of buttons we have, ARIA labels, and so on and so forth. So I think design and planning would be the best stage to start. And any requirements that come through, any new requirements that come through in your teams would be important to check if they require any accessibility enhancements on it or not. And as I said, I would definitely suggest start as early as possible, because catch your legalities before they catch you. And then it becomes expensive as well. And then at that point you think, why did I not think about this before? So bear these things in mind. Oh, also, make sure your services reach everyone, not only some. That's very important. So that's why we are doing this. The good old budget. Every time that I get excited, and I think many testers are excited and motivated to bring testing techniques into their teams, I walk 2 steps, but I get pushed 5 steps behind. Why? Because of the good old budget. So I think we can brush up the budget for this kind of topic, because would you rather risk it? I wouldn't risk it really. I rather my product has a good reputation at the very start itself, and I would make sure that I am capturing everyone, not only some people. You also want to reach more people. Why not? Why is your application just designed for a certain amount of people? There are free tools available, by the way. All the testing that I've done is all free tools. I've paid not even a single penny, or I've not made the team pay a single penny. Also, massive amount of accessibility testing is done manually. So even if automation can be a bit extensive and it takes time to maintain it, we can build small. We don't have to automate these things right away. We can spend more time doing manual accessibility checks. And I think it is very important to do accessibility because we are basically socially aware. We are capturing everyone to use our product, and we're not leaving anyone out. And sooner or later, you'll have to think about this. So why are we not thinking about this now? Also, I think the budget chats are a bit of a false economy. The cost of not doing it will be more later rather than doing it now. So I think it's important we start thinking like this rather than get put off by budget talks. And you can definitely suggest to your team about all these free tools, then they don't need to worry about other budgets. And if there are other important pressing points that take priority, of course, spend time on that. But don't forget about accessibility. You've basically put a seed into your team. Let it grow, let the flower come out. So make sure that accessibility is there. Make sure it's part of your test strategy. So a question of what to include actually in my accessibility report. What kind of report should I have? I basically had a very basic report that I started writing on a Word document. You can even add it onto a wiki page. It's your choice. You can have it as simple or as fancy as possible. It's all up to you. So in my report, I mentioned the areas I would concentrate on when reporting this accessibility on the application I'm testing. The results, I would share the results of what my tools suggested, if we are good accessibility-wise or we are lacking in some areas. And then some suggestions, if possible, provide with some suggestions that you think would help the team. Sometimes with the UX designers, a little bit of like discussion or some sort of suggestions help build a bit better of a report with them as well. So I think it's nice not just to report things, but also to suggest that, have you thought about this? What if we change a horizontal scrolling to a vertical scrolling? It would be much more better and more accessible, and give the reasoning behind it and some sort of pointers of why. So these things actually help designers, your team, because they get a better understanding. And at the same time, you've done some research too. So you are gaining some knowledge as well as a tester. Other things that I would definitely suggest for you to add into your report is like a checklist. So I'm going to go over this checklist and yeah, some things for you to think about as well. So my checklist is a bit long, but I will try and be a bit speedy. What conformance level are you working towards? If I remove images from the page for lower bandwidth, which many people like to do, they don't like to work with higher bandwidth sometimes for certain reasons. Can I still use my application? The labels, are they correctly written and placed or not? Are the labels following the given structure? The audio or video content, is it properly audible or visible? The color contrast ratio is maintained or not? Can I tab through my content? The colors being used on the user interface, are they accessible? If the link text is written with content description instead of creating ambiguity, if a meaningful multimedia caption is provided or not, if the instructions are clearly given or not, are the error messages informative or not, and if the content is clear, concise, and understandable or not. So that was my list. But obviously you can have your own personal list. This is just something for you to take away with you. And what does this leave me with? My results basically is that I become an advocate, I become a subject matter expert, and I'm spreading more eminence. Also, I feel accomplished because team members approach me, UX designers approach to me, and they ask me for my report, and they want for me to be part of discussions, important discussions around design. And they keep you in loop. So you feel really, really happy that that seed that I put initially, that is now blooming, that is becoming a flower. So you feel good at the end of the day. And just like that, I think if you follow these steps, you'll feel good as well. So follow my steps. So first of all, important, do your research. What is accessibility and how your team could benefit from it. Then have some details to showcase. Do a show and tell session of the tools you're using and how is that helping the team. Then you prepare an informative session. So discuss with your team of the pointers you have, back it up, convince them with all the kind of research you've done, results you have from your reports, and have accessibility as part of your testing approach. What do we become after that? We are alified. So yeah, follow my steps. Some quick checks and tips that you can do right away is some plugins that you can download. And that's the Arc Toolkit, Axe, Wave, Lighthouse. Remove some stylings to see if your application still looks all right, and screen readers. You can always also try to do some throttling to check how your application behaves in a lower bandwidth rather than a higher bandwidth area. You can add emulation to check around blurred vision, how your application would look for someone who has a blurred vision, or Tritanotopia. You can check these kind of things. And also a very easy check is to use your developer tools on any kind of colors on your screen and check if the standards are met in terms of the color, contrast ratio and the single A, double A, or triple A standards of your project. So you need to first understand what standards you're following and check on the application if these standards are fulfilled or not. So these are some freebies we have out there. So why are we thinking about spending a lot of more money? So we can tell them, we can tell our team members we have free tools. We don't need to worry a lot around budget if they're thinking that we might have to buy certain applications to do this kind of testing. So 4 principles of accessible content. I love this image a lot. So is it perceivable? Can I perceive it? Is it operable? Can I really use it? If I have an injured arm, for example. Is it understandable? Can I grasp it? Can I understand it or not? Is it easy? The help tooltips, are they helping me or are they making me stuck on this application? And is it robust enough? Can I really access it anywhere? So it's important to think of these kind of things. And if we take all 4, then again, we are alified. Another really interesting video. This is from Gavin. I think me and Adi were speaking earlier this week, and he suggested, Gavin mentioned something at, I think it was Test Bash Manchester, can't remember, but he suggested something, and I'm going to tell you what after you watch this little quick video. So basically, I'm trying to make a blueberry mug muffin. Okay, so my muffin's ready, but why am I adding the blueberries at the end? Why didn't I add them initially? So this is what accessibility is about. It's not the same when you do it afterwards. So think and plan early, then no need to worry. I think that kind of rhymes as well. So yeah, that was that. So a little summary for you for today's session. Understand accessibility. I showed you how to introduce this to your respective teams, how to convince them. Things that you can do. Things you can do your research, you can do your reports, you can have results, you can give suggestions, you can obviously put a seed in and make sure it grows. And some useful tips and tools that I just suggested earlier for you to take away. So thank you very, very much. I hope you liked my session. I hope you took a lot of this important information, and I look forward from forward to hearing from you. And then at the end, how did you bring accessibility to your teams? So thank you very, very much. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can have further discussions. And don't forget, also add the advocates that I had mentioned earlier in this session. So you have AD Stokes, you've got Viv Richards, you've got Suman Bala, and Lisandra Armas Aguila. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Lavina. It was a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Really nice stuff.
Thanks.
We have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So we can start, right? Okay. The first one from Indita. What are the points to remember before starting accessibility testing?
So the points that are really important to understand first is what is your product's basically web content accessibility guidelines. Is it following the single A, double A, triple A? So you need to work accordingly, because if you don't know, then you'll just be searching, and some tools might be saying you're double A compliant, some say you are not triple A compliant, so you get confused. So you need to understand the WCAG basically of what your product is. That's super important. Second thing that I would suggest before starting accessibility is be aware of what accessibility actually is. So try and understand, do enough research before you actually can go and play with this kind of testing on your product. These are the kind of things that I would suggest. So be familiar with it.
Of course, yeah. We need to understand first.
Yeah.
Great. And we have another one. Okay, great. This is from Safina. Yeah. Should the accessibility testing be first considered during design prototyping phase, where the designer applies web content accessibility guidelines to mediate any risks or gaps at a later stage in testing? What do you think about this?
I would say that accessibility started sooner is always better. If you leave it till the end, you always have to think that you have a roadmap that you're following in your team, then you're bringing something new. So things need to be parked up for this new thing to go in. So I would always say have talks, generate talks, have discussions in your team at a very early stage. In my case, the designers were not actually putting that stamp of single A, double A, triple A. It's the management of the product and what, for example, what Deloitte thinks our products should comply with. So double A is our standard. So it's not just down to designers. So then I would basically say start soon. And what was the second bit of that bit? To mediate any risk. Yeah, and in terms of mediating risks and gaps at a later stage, I think if you start sooner, you can focus on the critical errors that you're seeing along about accessibility. But you can maybe park the low ones for a little later on because they're not critical at the point. So you can do that, but at least start it. That's the important bit here. If you leave it till the end, so say for example you've actually gone live to production and then you realize, oh, accessibility, we didn't think about it. That's where the extra costs come in, and that's where the whole kind of roadmap that you had planned a few years ago, that this is what we're going to deliver in this year or this month or after this sprint, all of it just gets a bit it just doesn't look right, because obviously this new critical bit has come in. So as soon as you can, start talking about it, start kind of raising awareness, because it is an important topic and it gets overlooked many times.
And also you mentioned about Shiftlab, right? So you are applying Shiftlab for accessibility, right?
Sorry, what?
Sorry, you were mentioning about Shiftlab.
Shift left, of course, yes. If you start sooner, you are in the shift left pattern. If you're doing it the old style, then you're actually adding costs to what you already have. So at that point, people can say we don't have the budget. But if you start sooner, no one can say nothing.
Yeah, correct. Okay. I guess we have another question. Yes. From Suji. Is accessibility testing similar to usability testing?
No,
That's a
not
great
at
question.
all. Completely different. Two complete different things. Usability is basically measuring how easy your system is to use, and accessibility is how can you access a product regardless of the technological and physical needs of a human, basically. So, usability is more like, say, for example, you create a product, and tomorrow you invite few of your clients to come and play with the product. You actually create a whole log of what you want to go through with that client, and it's like a role play happening there. So you'll take them over your product end to end, see what they talk. So I've been part of usability sessions, and I've actually taken down so many notes. There's so many things that you kind of realize that the client don't understand, but we are still building it for them. So that's different. And then accessibility is, say for example, I'm creating a product, but I can't tab through. So then my product's not really usable. If I don't want to use a mouse one day, or my trackpad is stuck one day and I'm trying to tab through and try and use it with my keyboard. Or say, for example, I am colorblind, right? So then what would I do if I can't really see the color red? I should still be able to um, do my little work that I'm trying to do on that application end to end. I shouldn't be stuck.
Yeah, correct.
So I hope
It makes
I've
sense.
answered that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I guess we have another one. Yes, we have another one.
Yeah.
Uh,
So these, I think tools, I mentioned it. There's so many and they're all
yeah,
free.
yeah. I saw that you were sharing a few of them. So,
Yeah.
but do you have any probably other tools that you want to
You can
mention?
obviously you can use, as I didn't mention, the screen readers. You've got JAWS, you've got your Mac screen readers, you've got your Windows screen readers. It's you can use on any of those. When you're doing screen reading, it gives you like a little list at the end what it went through as well, so you can
Mm-hmm.
analyze if it's gone through the right things. In Arc Toolkit, actually, there's a really good feature. It takes you over what the tool thinks you have coded for your application to be. So it thinks that number one step should be on the top, two, three, four, five, according to what you've coded. But in real, when you actually go and use the product, you're not starting at number one, you're starting at number four. So then these are the things you can analyze with your team and say, like, this doesn't make sense. Our code is not really rich enough. And it's actually giving us it's misguiding us of what should be our first step in how to start from using the product. So these are really useful. It just gives you like a whole kind of map with all numbers everywhere, and you need to decide if it's right or not.
Actually, images as well, right? When we're having images, like we don't have the description. It's really hard.
Yeah, alt text. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you have screen readers, it just goes over it, and the person who probably cannot see would not even know they went over an image. So these are the things that are missing, and sometimes these can obviously, if you're missing vital things like this, people are not going to use your product. People are going to go somewhere else, and you don't want that. And the other thing is keyboard traps. You can tab everywhere, but you might get stuck somewhere, and then how do you get out? So you
You're
don't, you don't want to be trapped somewhere. You want to still manage to get A to B. If you're stuck in A, that product's not really accessible. And then people are gonna go to your competitor, and then again, branding is questionable, innovation is questionable, legalities are questionable. So there's so much that comes with it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, I think I have a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay, from BG, what will be the best approach to test accessibility, automation or manual? Thanks,
Both.
BG. Okay.
Yeah, both. I think nowadays with the tools we have, even yesterday I was in a panel session. We were talking. There was a mention around you can use Cypress with Axe in it. So things are possible now. You can automate. You can start. I would suggest start manual because that's how you understand how these accessibility tools function. Once you understand how these function, create a POC, see how it works for your product, and make it automated. So make it part of your automation pipeline.
Oh, okay, great. Uh, and we have another one. Hi, Lavina. Any tips on accessibility testing for BI reports or Power BI, Tableau? like checking on slicers, tools, tooltips, or sort orders from Dominic.
So Dominique, did you know that Power BI and Tableau already have accessibility inbuilt? So you don't really need accessibility. Apparently, their product is accessible enough. And these are dashboards. Um, Dashboards is like, imagine a massive Excel sheet with so many graphs and everything. I think it's created for your purpose. Unless you're creating a dashboard for the team with just few things, then you need to think about how to be accessible enough. But Power BI and Tableau already are accessible. I've checked that. And if you're trying to make a dashboard yourself in your team, that's where you can think around how to make it accessible, colors wise, graphs wise, tabbing wise, alt text wise, as was mentioned, and then play around with those things, work on a lower bandwidth, for example, remove all the imaging of your images of your page and see if your dashboard still is readable or not. So BI reports in Power BI and Tableau, they're accessible. If you're creating your own dashboard, that's where you need to plan accessibility.
Nice. That's great to know, to be honest.
Yeah.
We have a couple more pre-submitted questions that I would like to share with you from the audience. So the first one, what are the challenges in mobile accessibility testing? And
Challenges in mobile accessibility. I've not done mobile accessibility, I'm going to be very honest. But
okay,
challenges could be that, again, certain things are not captured. And as I said, do manual for a bit. Don't jump into automation straight away. You need to always think. One thing I learned as well that was I found useful was that learn the product that you're trying to do, learn the testing that you're trying to do and why you're doing it, create a POC towards your product. So again, create some kind of POC automated for your mobile testing, and then basically see if that works or not. Find the nitpick the most technical, challenging parts of your mobile app and see if that automated test works with it. If it doesn't, then maybe that tool is not right, that framework's not right. You need to switch or change or research furthermore. Ask in the community actually as well. That helps. So I would say challenges. I've not done mobile accessibility, but there are challenges to do with your frameworks that you choose, um, and things that could be that your tools not picking up, your accessibility tools not picking up for you. So research, I would say.
no, that's great advice, to be honest. Yeah, and actually, we have another question regarding that because you mentioned exploratory testing and accessibility.
Mhm.
So, do you have any guidelines to accomplish accessibility with exploratory testing, as you mentioned?
Yeah. So when you're actually learning about a product and you're trying to bring accessibility, I like to explore first before I even start with anything else. So I'm going to try and understand what is the product trying to do. I don't have to do the whole product in one day. I pick tech like the most important areas, like maybe a couple of buttons on the page. That's my focus, and that is it. That's the full stop there. My exploratory testing, and then when I know what these buttons are doing, I understand. Uh, I basically use developer tools and understand what's happening. Then only I think like, okay, now I'm going to try and play with these buttons and I'm going to use accessibility tools, try and see if they've got the right kind of if they are applying the right accessibility tools or not. Like ARIA is a very important one. If they're following the HTML process properly. Sometimes there's so many things in your website or your application that are meant to be under a list, but they're outside of a list. So you need to kind of have a proper format because this is what your screen readers are going to read. So if your screen readers cannot understand, then you're not really helping the community out there. So that's what I would suggest.
That's great, great advice. And we have a last one. So probably you already answered this, but this is for continuous integration with accessibility. Do you have any tool for that accomplish continuous testing with accessibility? I know we have others, but I'm
I
sure you
don't
have any.
I don't have one right now. I do know that Cypress can do it. So I've got a pipeline right now that does automation testing, and it's just basic important aspects that it's picking up from the product, not an end to end. So what you can do is you can inbuild your accessibility on it and then make it part
Nice.
of your Azure DevOps pipeline. So as part of that automation pipeline, we've got integration, we've got Cypress, we've got performance. We could have another Cypress accessibility one run together. It is possible.
Wow, this is great. I mean, if you can include,
Yeah.
automation, performance, accessibility,
Yeah.
this is a great coverage, by the way.
Yeah, and it's good as well because you're gaining confidence. If you've got it all automated that you've manually tested first, you've got
Of
confidence
course.
that your application, with one check, you know if it's accessible or not, rather than in the future going and doing manual checks again, or just, like if there's a ticket that comes up around accessibility, you just deploy it to your environment, you run this automated automated code that you've made for this aspect, and then if it's green, you trust it.
That's nice, to be honest. Okay, I think we don't have any other question. So the only
Those
thing
are
is,
loads of questions. I like
let me double check just in case, but I don't think so.
And
No,
loads of hearts as well. I like it. Happy
it's really
Friday.
nice. Really nice. Yeah, happy Friday. Oh, okay, Lavin. I think that's it. I really, really thank you, your time, your effort
Thank
doing this
you.
presentation, this talk. Uh, really, this is really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Synapse. Thanks, Enrique. And thanks, Nitin, as well. Really,
No,
really, really
thanks to
enjoyed it.
you. Really nice topic. And now let me share my screen because we have some announcements. And we are sharing now. Okay, here we have our sponsors. So thanks to our sponsors for this great opportunity. Thanks to Applitools, AccelQ, Lambda Test, Test Sigma, Muke Test, and Test Project. Without you, we were not here. So really appreciate that you are supporting us. And don't forget that we have the Super Reads 2021. We are calling for writers. This is still open. You already have time. Please approach to us if you have a great idea and you want to translate that idea into a nice article. Please let us know. We have the links here. We have the social media. Please let us know. We have a great team this year to share, to help, and also to work together. And that's it. Thanks for this opportunity today, and we're going to have more talks. Please stay tuned, and happy testing.